The planet Velara had always been quiet, a place where rivers ran clear and forests stretched farther than anyone could see. Its cities shone like crystals under the twin suns, and its people lived in peace, creating art and science in ways that seemed magical to outsiders. But that peace was about to end. From the dark edges of the system, enormous warships appeared, their shapes jagged and menacing. They belonged to the Zorathians, a species known for taking without mercy. Their fleets had destroyed worlds before, leaving nothing behind but silence. Velara had no experience with war of that scale. The Velaran leaders sent messages across the galaxy, asking for help. They expected powerful allies from the Galactic Council, hoping for fleets that could match the Zorathians in numbers and firepower. Weeks passed. The Velarans received replies, but most were cautious, offering only advice or small contingents that could barely defend a single city. Commander Lyra, the head of Velara's planetary defense, grew worried. She walked through the city's streets, seeing the fear in the citizens' eyes. Children clung to their parents, and merchants closed their shops early. Even the scientists, normally calm and focused, were tense as they worked on energy shields and weapon prototypes that might never be enough. Lyra had trained for emergencies, but nothing in her life had prepared her for an enemy like the Zorathians. They were not just strong, they were relentless, attacking with precise coordination and showing no mercy. Reports came in daily. Entire settlements wiped out, forests burned, and defenses destroyed. The Velaran Council debated every day, trying to find a solution. But their plans felt slow and careful, and time was running out. Then came the rumors. Stories of humans, Deathworlders, they were called, circulated quietly at first, whispered in council chambers and scientific labs. According to old records, humans could survive on planets far harsher than Velara. They had endured worlds of boiling acid, frozen tundras, and poisonous atmospheres. No creature in the galaxy could match their ability to adapt, to fight, and to survive in conditions that would kill others instantly. Many considered the stories myths, tales told to inspire fear or awe. But as the Zorathian fleets drew closer, even myths became a hope. On a quiet night, the sky above Velara lit up with the glow of approaching ships. These were not the elegant vessels of the Galactic Council. They were rough, battered, and scarred from countless battles. Humans had arrived. Commander Lyra watched from the observation deck, her heart pounding. The humans moved with confidence, as if danger was nothing more than a puzzle to solve. The first contact was brief but unforgettable. A small landing party touched down near the northern forests, where Zorathian scouts were already approaching. Humans emerged, wearing gear that seemed strange to the Velarans. Their weapons were unusual, and their armor was rugged, marked with scratches and dents. But what struck the Velarans most was the look in their eyes, a calm, fearless determination that felt almost alien. Captain Rourke, their leader, stepped forward. His presence was commanding, yet casual, as if he were walking into a garden rather than a battlefield. Lyra approached cautiously, unsure how to communicate with these humans who seemed to carry the weight of countless battles on their shoulders. "We got your message," Rourke said, his voice steady and strong. "Looks worse than we expected." "Eh?" Lyra was taken aback by his blunt honesty. She nodded. "The Zorathians are relentless. We cannot stop them with our forces alone." Rourke glanced at the sky, where Zorathian ships were already preparing their attack. "We'll handle the ones in the air. You focus on your people. We'll teach you some things, and then we fight together." The Velarans had never seen war like this. Humans did not wait for perfect plans or orders from councils. They moved, adapted, and used their surroundings to their advantage. When the first Zorathian scouts landed near the northern plains, humans had already set traps, using the trees, rivers, and uneven terrain in ways that the Velarans could hardly imagine. The attack was brutal. Zorathians fired energy weapons that could melt stone, and their beasts, massive creatures bred for combat, charged without fear. Yet the humans met every threat with precision and creativity. One human used a simple rope and pulley system to drop a fallen tree onto a charging Zorathian beast, killing it instantly. Another lured an enemy squad into a canyon, where a controlled landslide blocked their retreat. The Velorans watched in awe, struggling to keep up, but learning from every move. Lyra realized that these humans were not just fighters, they were survival experts. Warriors born for worlds that would destroy others. And they were fearless. While Velorans hesitated, humans acted. Where Velarans would have retreated from a Zorathian patrol, humans would run straight toward it, not recklessly, but with calculation born of experience. By dawn, the northern plains were quiet. The Zorathian scouts had retreated, their numbers reduced by more than half. Lyra walked among the humans, seeing the exhaustion on their faces. Yet there was no fear, no despair. Even after a night of battle, they were calm, methodical, and ready for what came next. "Your people are brave," Rourke said, noticing Lyra's gaze. "But bravery alone won't save you. You need to think like we do. Use your environment. Improvise. Take risks that seem impossible. Survival is the weapon no enemy can predict." Lyra nodded, understanding the weight of his words. The humans had come not just to fight, but to teach. And if Velara survived, it would be because they learned to face danger in ways they never thought possible. As the sun rose over the forests and cities of Velara, the people watched the human scouts disappear into the terrain, preparing for the battles yet to come. A spark of hope had entered the hearts of the Velarans. For the first time in weeks, they believed they could survive, not just through technology or careful planning, but through courage, adaptability, and a willingness to face the impossible. And somewhere in the distance, the Zorathian fleet waited, unaware that the galaxy's most feared survivors, the Deathworlders, had come to challenge them. The morning air on Velara was crisp, but the tension was heavier than ever. The humans had arrived, and the Velarans could feel the difference immediately. There was no hesitation, no fear, only action. Captain Rourke and his team had split into smaller groups, moving silently through the forests, rivers, and hills, observing the terrain and the enemy. Commander Lyra followed them cautiously, learning quickly how different the humans were from anyone she had known. The humans did not rely on walls or shields. They relied on observation, speed, and instinct. Rourke showed the Velarans how to set traps that used the environment itself. One moment, a fallen log seemed to block a small path. The next, it swung down with crushing force when a Zorathian soldier stepped on a hidden trigger. Another human had built a simple snare from vines and rocks, invisible, until it caught a charging Zorathian beast by the leg, sending it sprawling into a pit. The Velarans watched in awe. Their careful, scientific methods had never accounted for such ingenuity. Lyra began to gather volunteers. Young soldiers, engineers, and even farmers who had never held weapons now moved through the forest with renewed purpose. Rourke taught them to think in new ways, to use what was around them, to predict enemy movements, and to act decisively even when the odds seemed impossible. The Velarans stumbled at first, tripping over roots or misjudging distances, but they learned quickly. Each small victory built confidence, and with each lesson, the fear that had gripped them for weeks began to fade. By midday, the humans had identified the main Zorathian landing zone. Lyra stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the encampment below. Massive ships hovered over the plains, unloading troops and machines that could crush a city in minutes. The humans were already preparing their attack. "They're strong," Lyra said, her voice tense. "How can we possibly stop them?" Rourke looked out over the enemy forces, his expression calm. "We don't stop them with strength alone. We stop them with brains, with preparation, and with things they cannot predict. Follow my lead, and watch carefully. Then do it yourself. The first wave of Zorathians moved forward. Humans and Velerans had prepared traps in the forests and hills surrounding the landing zone. Rocks were rigged to fall, pits hidden beneath branches, and ropes tied to swing logs and heavy debris. The first Zorathian squad fell into the pit traps, screaming in shock and anger. Another unit was ambushed as swinging logs and nets struck from the trees. The Velarans could hardly believe their eyes. Lyra noticed that the humans never paused to celebrate a victory. When a trap worked, they moved immediately to the next challenge, observing the enemy's response and adjusting their plans. This adaptability was something the Velarans had never seen before. Even their best soldiers were trained for precision and rules, but humans thrived on improvisation. In one daring maneuver, a human named Tessa led a small team up a steep cliff to flank the Zorathian forces. They carried nothing heavy, only tools they could use to improvise weapons. When they reached the top, they launched rocks and rigged small explosions that sent the enemy into chaos. The Veleran soldiers below watched in amazement, realizing that the humans were not just fighting, they were controlling the battlefield. Lyra herself joined the humans in the action. She ran alongside Rourke as they navigated through the forests, dodging energy blasts and guiding Veleran fighters through traps. For the first time, she felt the thrill of taking the fight directly to the enemy, instead of waiting behind walls and defenses. Her heart pounded with fear, but also with excitement. Every obstacle they overcame felt like proof that Valara could survive. By evening, the first battle was over. The Zorathians had suffered heavy losses, and their morale was shaken. Humans and Valarans had proven they could work together, blending the Velaran knowledge of the land with human creativity and courage. Soldiers who had been terrified hours before now moved confidently through the streets, checking barricades and repairing defenses with renewed purpose. As night fell, Rourke gathered the humans and Veleran leaders around a small campfire in the forest. Lyra noticed that, despite the long day of combat, the humans were calm, methodical, and observant. They ate sparingly, cleaned their equipment, and spoke quietly about strategy and lessons learned. "You learn fast," Rourke said, looking at Lyra and her soldiers. "Most species would break under the pressure, but you adapted. That's what matters in a fight like this. Strength is temporary. Skill and adaptability last." Lyra nodded, realizing the truth in his words. She had always believed in careful planning, in precision and rules. But humans had shown her a new way to fight and survive, a way that combined courage, creativity, and bold action. The thought gave her hope that Valara could withstand even the fiercest attacks. During the night, small patrols moved silently through the forests, scouting for Zorathian movements. Humans and Velarans worked together seamlessly. The humans taught Velarans how to read the signs of enemy movements, how to predict attacks, and how to use the land itself as a weapon. Velerans began to understand that survival was not just about having stronger shields or weapons. It was about thinking, adapting, and never giving up. As dawn approached, Lyra looked out over the forest and the plains beyond. The Zorathians were regrouping, likely planning their next attack. But she no longer felt the panic that had gripped her for weeks. With the humans on their side, Valara had a chance. Not just a small chance, but a real one. Humans had brought more than weapons, they had brought hope, courage, and a way to survive against impossible odds. And in the quiet before the next battle, Lyra understood something that she could never have imagined before. The humans were not just soldiers or survivors. They were Deathworlders, creatures who had faced death in countless forms and had always lived to fight another day. And now, for the first time, Valara would fight with them. The Zorathians had retreated for the moment, but Commander Lyra knew it was only temporary. Their enemy was patient and relentless, and the humans had warned her that the next attack would be far worse. The humans moved through the forests with a quiet confidence, scouting and preparing. Velaran soldiers followed closely, learning more each day about the ways of these Deathworlders. Captain Rourke led a small team to the northern plains, where Zorathian forces had regrouped. He carried no heavy armor, only weapons that seemed ordinary, but had hidden functions. To the Velarans, it seemed reckless. But to Rourke, it was careful calculation. He paused to observe the enemy's movements, noting patrol patterns, supply lines, and weak points. Every detail mattered. Lyra and a group of Velaran fighters joined him, their curiosity mixed with caution. Rourke smiled slightly, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Safe? No. Effective? Absolutely. Watch and learn. They moved silently through the tall grass, using every tree, rock, and shadow for cover. The Zorathians were confident, believing their superior technology and numbers made them untouchable. But humans had a different perspective. Where others saw danger, they saw opportunity. Where others hesitated, humans acted. The first strike was sudden and precise. A hidden trap triggered, sending a massive boulder rolling down the hill, crushing the front line of Zorathian soldiers. Velarans gasped, unable to hide their amazement. The humans did not pause. Another team used ropes to swing logs into enemy ranks, while others launched small, controlled explosions that scattered the Zorathians further. Lyra realized the humans were teaching by example. They did not lecture or explain. They acted, showing the Velarans how to adapt and think creatively. Soldiers who had been nervous and inexperienced now moved confidently, setting traps, creating distractions, and attacking with courage. In the middle of the battle, a squad of Zorathian beasts charged at the Velaran fighters. They were massive, armored creatures with claws and teeth capable of tearing through metal. The humans reacted instantly. One of them, a young soldier named Kira, used a vine as a whip, tangling a beast's legs and sending it crashing to the ground. Another human climbed a tree and dropped a heavy rock onto another beast, killing it instantly. Lyra had never seen anything like it. The humans did not fight with brute strength alone, they fought with brains, improvisation, and fearless determination. As the battle continued, Rourke spotted the Zorathian commander, a large, armored figure directing the troops. He knew that capturing or neutralizing this leader would break the enemy's morale. Rourke signaled to Lyra, and they moved carefully through the chaos, using hidden paths and the confusion of the battlefield to their advantage. Lyra felt her heart pounding, but she did not hesitate. For the first time, she understood what humans meant when they talked about facing fear directly. Every step was calculated, every move designed to survive and succeed. The Velarans had learned more in one battle than they had in years of training. They reached the commander, and with precise coordination, the humans and Velarans trapped him. Lyra watched as Rourke stepped forward, calm and confident. Within moments, the Zorathian commander was captured, his forces thrown into disarray. The remaining Zorathians fled, leaving the battlefield to the humans and Velarans. The victory was exhilarating, but it was also a lesson. The humans had shown that bravery alone was not enough. It was intelligence, adaptability, and bold action that could turn the tide. Velarans began to understand that they could survive, not because of technology or numbers, but because they were learning to think like humans, like Deathworlders who had faced death and overcome it countless times. After the battle, the humans gathered the Velarans for a brief debrief. "You did well," Rourke said. "But don't forget, this is just the beginning. The Zorathians will return, stronger and smarter. You have to keep learning, keep adapting. Survival is never easy, and sometimes it requires risk." Lyra nodded, feeling a mix of pride and determination. She had seen her people transform in just a few days. Fear had been replaced with confidence, hesitation with action. Humans had not just fought for them, they had taught them how to face impossible odds and survive. That evening, as the sun set over Valara, the forests and plains glowed in golden light. The Valaran soldiers moved through the terrain with newfound skill, setting traps, practicing tactics, and preparing for the next attack. Humans worked alongside them, showing small adjustments, testing strategies, and sharing knowledge without arrogance. Lyra walked with Rourke along a ridge overlooking the plains. "Your people. They are extraordinary," she said quietly. "I have never seen anyone like you." I have never seen anyone like you." Rourke shrugged, looking out at the horizon. "We're just people. But people who have learned to survive when everything is against us. That's what makes the difference. The galaxy thinks humans are reckless, but we have a way of turning danger into advantage. You'll see that soon enough." Lyra understood. The humans were not just soldiers, they were teachers, guides, and examples of what was possible. They had brought hope to Valara, showing that survival was not a matter of luck or numbers, but of courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to face the impossible. As night fell, Valara was quiet again. But this time the quiet felt different. It was not fear that filled the streets. It was anticipation. The people had seen humans in action, and they had learned. They had seen what could be done when the impossible was met with courage and creativity, and they knew that when the next Zorathian attack came, they would be ready. Deep in the forest, Rourke and his team prepared for the next phase. Scouts were sent to gather intelligence. Traps were strengthened, and strategies were discussed in hushed tones. Every move was deliberate, every action designed to ensure survival. Lyra watched from a distance, understanding that the future of Valara now depended on more than just technology or planning. It depended on the lessons of the humans, lessons of adaptability, fearlessness, and resourcefulness. And for the first time, she felt a surge of confidence that Valara could survive, no matter how great the threat. The Zorathians would return. That was certain. But so would the humans. And with them, Valara had a chance. A real chance. The Valaran cities were alive with preparation. After the capture of the Zorathian commander, the humans had helped the Valarans rebuild defenses, repair structures, and train soldiers. But everyone knew that the next attack would be the largest. The Zorathians would not forget their loss, and they would return with vengeance. Captain Rourke and his team moved across the forests and plains, scouting enemy positions and observing the terrain. Valaran soldiers followed, learning to think as humans did. They no longer saw themselves as fragile or limited. Every obstacle became a tool. Every threat, an opportunity. "The Zorathians are predictable in some ways," Rourke explained to Lyra. "They have strength, but they don't think like we do. They expect fear and hesitation. We'll use that against them." Lyra nodded. She had seen it herself. Humans could read situations and adapt instantly. They used terrain, timing, and creativity to overcome threats that seemed impossible. The Valarans were beginning to understand that survival was not just about numbers or technology. It was about thinking, acting, and daring to be bold when others would hesitate. When the Zorathians arrived, their fleet darkened the skies. Ships hovered over the plains, dropping troops and machines designed to crush resistance. But the humans were ready. They had prepared traps, ambushes, and hidden firing positions. Lyra and her soldiers moved like shadows, blending into the forests and hills. The first wave of Zorathian forces met immediate resistance. Rocks and logs fell from hidden traps. Explosive devices scattered squads, and hidden teams struck from unexpected directions. Valarans, guided by humans, moved with speed and confidence. No longer did they hesitate or panic. Every action was deliberate, every move calculated. In the center of the battlefield, Rourke led a small strike team to flank the enemy's main force. They moved through narrow canyons and dense forests, avoiding detection and using the terrain to their advantage. When they struck, it was sudden and devastating. Zorathian soldiers were caught off guard, disoriented, and forced to retreat. Lyra observed the scene, amazed at the humans' skill. They were not just fighters, they were thinkers, survivors, and leaders. Every move was designed to maximize impact while minimizing risk. Velarans, who had once feared the Zorathians, now followed the humans with determination, inspired by their courage and ingenuity. One particularly daring maneuver involved Tessa, a young human fighter. She led a small group up a sheer cliff to attack Zorathian artillery positions. Using ropes, pulleys, and clever positioning, they disabled the weapons before the enemy could fire a single shot. The Velarans watched, astonished. No one had thought such a climb possible, let alone under fire. Meanwhile, Captain Rourke and Lyra coordinated a simultaneous attack on the Zorathian command ship. Using hidden paths and terrain for cover, they infiltrated the outskirts of the enemy base. Rourke's team disabled key machinery, while Lyra directed Velaran soldiers to cut off reinforcements. In hours of careful planning and bold action, the humans and Velarans turned what seemed like a hopeless situation into a strategic advantage. The Zorathians were unprepared for such tactics. Their strength and technology could not compensate for the creativity and adaptability of the humans. Units panicked when confronted with traps they could not predict. Soldiers retreated when faced with ambushes in impossible terrain. The Velarans pressed forward, learning from every human action and gaining confidence in their own abilities. By the end of the day, the battlefield was quiet. The Zorathians had retreated, leaving behind equipment and supplies. Humans and Velarans gathered to assess their success and prepare for the inevitable return of the enemy. The Velarans were exhausted but exhilarated. They had faced the impossible and survived. Rourke walked among them, observing their progress. "This is what I wanted you to see," he said. "You can survive. You can fight. But you must think, adapt, and trust yourself. You have everything you need to face the next attack, and you will." Lyra nodded. She felt a sense of pride she had never experienced before. Her people had learned to face danger directly, to act decisively, and to survive through courage and ingenuity. The humans had not only helped them win a battle, they had transformed their mindset, showing them what it truly meant to survive against impossible odds. That night, the Velaran city was filled with quiet activity. Soldiers trained under the watchful eyes of the humans. Engineers repaired damaged defenses, and scouts prepared for the next engagement. Humans moved among them, calm and methodical, always observing, always teaching, always ready to act. Lyra walked through the streets, seeing the changes in her people. Fear had been replaced by determination. Hesitation had been replaced by action. The humans had shown them that survival was not about avoiding danger, but facing it with courage, intelligence, and creativity. As she reached the edge of the city, Lyra looked out over the plains. The Zorathians would return, stronger and more determined. But so would the humans. And with them, Velara was no longer a helpless planet. They were ready. Captain Rourke approached her, his expression calm but serious. "You've learned quickly. That's what makes the difference. Fear is temporary. Courage and ingenuity last forever. Remember that." Lyra nodded, feeling the truth of his words deep in her heart. The humans were not just allies, they were examples, guides, and teachers. They had brought hope, courage, and the knowledge that even the deadliest threats could be overcome with the right approach. As the stars shone above Velara, the planet seemed brighter than it had in weeks. Humans moved through the forests and cities, preparing for whatever came next. Velarans trained, strategized, and learned from every action. And somewhere in the distance, the Zorathians prepared for their return. Unaware that they faced more than just soldiers, they faced humans, Deathworlders, and a planet that had learned to fight like them. The battle was not over. The war was far from finished. But for the first time, Valara had hope. The humans had arrived, and with them, a chance to survive against impossible odds. And as the night deepened, Lyra understood that the humans had not only changed the battlefield, they had changed her people forever. The day of the final battle dawned over Valara. The Zorathian fleet filled the sky, blackening the horizon with their massive warships and sending ground troops into the plains. Their previous defeats had made them angry and cautious. But overconfidence still ran deep. They underestimated the humans, just as they had before. Captain Rourke and his team moved quickly, coordinating with Commander Lyra and the Velaran forces. Every soldier, human, and Velaran alike, knew their role. Humans led the most dangerous operations, scouting enemy lines, disabling weapons, and setting traps in ways the Velarans could never have imagined on their own. The battle began with a sudden strike. Hidden artillery positions unleashed blasts that shattered Zorathian formations, while human fighters led flanking maneuvers through the forests. Velaran soldiers followed the humans, moving with newfound confidence. No longer timid or fearful, they struck decisively, taking advantage of every opening the humans created. Rourke and Lyra led a strike team toward the enemy's command center. The path was perilous, lined with Zorathian troops and automated defenses, but the humans were relentless. They used the terrain to their advantage, luring enemy squads into ambushes, collapsing natural structures to block reinforcements, and turning the battlefield into a trap the Zorathians could not escape. Velaran soldiers learned quickly, following every instruction and observing every tactic. They began improvising on their own, setting small traps and guiding attackers into carefully prepared kill zones. The humans encouraged them, praising creativity and quick thinking. By midday, the Zorathians were disoriented, their morale shattered by the relentless, unpredictable attacks. In the air, human pilots executed daring maneuvers around the Zorathian ships. Their crafts were smaller and less technologically advanced, but their pilots had unmatched skill and courage. They dodged energy blasts, exploited weaknesses in the enemy formation, and struck with precision where the Zorathians least expected. The sight of these fearless pilots inspired the Velarans even further, showing them that skill and determination could overcome superior technology. On the ground, Tessa and a team of humans led a charge into the heart of the Zorathian encampment. They used explosives, traps, and guerrilla tactics to create chaos. Velaran fighters followed, confident in their ability to face danger. Together, humans and Velarans tore through the enemy lines, capturing soldiers and disabling vehicles. Every victory seemed impossible. Yet the humans made it look simple. Captain Rourke finally reached the command ship, where the remaining Zorathian leader awaited. The humans had anticipated this moment, setting traps and distractions to isolate the commander. Lyra and her team moved alongside Rourke, ensuring that no reinforcements could intervene. The Zorathian leader fought fiercely, but against the coordinated humans and Velarans, he had no chance. In a decisive moment, Rourke captured him, signaling the collapse of the enemy's leadership. With their commander defeated and their forces in disarray, the Zorathians began to retreat. The humans did not give them a chance to regroup. They pursued strategically, ensuring that Valara would remain safe. The Velarans, once helpless and fearful, now fought with courage and skill. They had learned from the humans how to survive, adapt, and act boldly against impossible odds. By evening, the battlefield was quiet. The Zorathians had been defeated, their remaining troops retreating into the darkness of space. The humans and Velarans gathered to survey the results. Equipment was damaged, terrain was scarred, but the planet was safe. Valara had survived. Lyra walked among her people, seeing the changes that had occurred in just days. Soldiers who had been trembling with fear now stood tall, confident in their abilities. Engineers, farmers, and citizens had all contributed, guided by the humans' example. Courage, ingenuity, and adaptability had triumphed over fear, strength, and technology. Captain Rourke approached Lyra as the sun set over Valara. "Your people did well," he said. "They learned quickly, and they fought with courage. But remember, survival is not just about winning a battle. It's about learning, adapting, and never giving up." Lyra nodded, understanding the depth of his words. The humans had done more than fight. They had taught her people a way to survive, to face challenges with skill and courage, and to believe in themselves even when the odds seemed impossible. Around the city, Velarans celebrated quietly, grateful for the humans who had saved their planet. Humans did not linger in the celebrations. They moved through the streets, checking for hidden dangers, ensuring traps were still in place, and quietly preparing to leave. They had accomplished their mission, and their presence had changed Valara forever. Before departing, Rourke addressed the Valarans one last time. "You are stronger than you think. Fear is temporary, but courage and ingenuity are forever. Use what you've learned. Protect your world. And remember, when danger comes again, you can face it, because you've faced the impossible and survived." Lyra watched the humans leave, their ships disappearing into the stars. A sense of hope filled her heart. Valara had survived, not just because of technology or numbers, but because of the humans who had shown them how to fight, adapt, and survive. In the following days, Valara began to rebuild. Soldiers trained with newfound confidence, using the lessons humans had taught them. Citizens worked together to repair cities and infrastructure. Scientists explored ways to combine Valaran knowledge with human ingenuity. Every action, every decision, carried the imprint of the Deathworlders who had come to save them. Lyra often thought about the humans and their fearless ways. They were not invincible, but they had a strength that went beyond physical power. It was the strength to survive in impossible conditions, to act boldly, to adapt, and to face danger without hesitation. That strength had saved Valara. Months later, Valara was transformed. The people were stronger, braver, and more resourceful. They no longer relied solely on shields and technology. They had learned to think creatively, to act decisively, and to trust in their own abilities. The humans had come as strangers, but they left as teachers, heroes, and symbols of what it truly meant to survive against impossible odds. And somewhere in the galaxy, Captain Rourke and his team flew onward, ready to appear wherever civilizations faced extinction. The legend of the Deathworlders would continue, inspiring hope wherever they went. Valara would never forget the humans who had come when no one else could, teaching them that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability could triumph over even the deadliest threats. The planet was safe, the people were strong, and the galaxy had learned a lesson. When humans arrived, even the impossible could be overcome.